Everyone talks about childhood trauma like it's about only what was done to you. But the deepest wounds come from what was missing. No yelling, no bruises. Just quiet rooms, empty eyes, and the slow disappearance of a child who wanted to be seen. There was a child who couldn't stop erasing, couldn't stop fixing, couldn't stop trying to be perfect. He's 7 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his hands, small hands that don't know yet how heavy they'll become. His mother is in the next room. He can hear her crying, the muffled kind that tries to hide itself, but bleeds through the walls anyway. He wants to go to her, wants to ask if she's okay, wants to be held, but he's learned not to. Because the last time he cried, she looked at him with exhausted eyes and said, "Not now. I can't handle this right now." So he sits still, silent. He learns to read the room before he enters it, to scan faces for danger, to make himself smaller, quieter, less. He learns that his feelings are too much, that his sadness is a burden, that his joy is inconvenient. He learns that love is conditional, that it must be earned, that it can be lost if he asks for too much, and so he stops asking. He becomes the child who never complains, who always says, "I'm fine," who learns to carry his own weight before his bones are strong enough to hold it. This is how it begins. Not with violence, not with cruelty, but with absence. This is childhood emotional neglect. It's one of the most invisible forms of trauma because it's not about what happened to you, it's about what didn't happen. No one hit you, no one screamed. From the outside, everything looked fine. You had food, clothes, a roof over your head, maybe even good grades, but inside, you were starving. Starving for someone to ask, "How are you feeling?" Starving for someone to notice when you were struggling. Starving for someone to tell you that your emotions weren't too much, that you were allowed to take up space in this world. And when that starvation goes unnoticed for years, it doesn't disappear when you grow up. It follows you. It becomes the voice in your head that says, "You're being dramatic. Other people have it worse." In Dr. Jonas Webb's Running on Empty, she describes emotional neglect as a parent's failure to respond enough to a child's emotional needs. Not abuse, not intentional harm, just absence. And that absence carves a hole that nothing seems to fill. The sound of a door closing, the sigh when you entered a room, the silence when you needed words. These are the memories that haunt you. If you felt guilty for resting, keep watching. If you've apologized for crying, this is for you. Emotionally neglected children grow into adults who carry invisible wounds. They can't accept compliments without deflecting. They flinch when someone asks, "What do you need?" They say, "I'm fine," even when they're falling apart. They become adults, terrified of being a burden, who overfunction in every relationship, who give and give until there's nothing left and then feel guilty for being empty. They're the friend everyone leans on but who never leans back, the partner who loves deeply but can't believe they're loved in return, the employee who works themselves to exhaustion because productivity feels like proof of worth. And the most heartbreaking part? They don't even realize it's connected to their childhood. Because when neglect is invisible, so is the wound. You can't point to a specific moment and say, "That's when it happened." It was 1,000 small moments. 1,000 times your feelings were dismissed. Decades later, you're still that child at the kitchen table, still making yourself smaller, still waiting for permission to exist. Do you struggle to identify what you're feeling? Someone asks, "How are you?" and you genuinely don't know. You say fine because it's easier than excavating the mess inside. Do you become defensive when someone asks a simple question? "What are you doing?" feels like an accusation. "Are you okay?" feels like an attack. Because growing up, questions weren't curiosity. They were preludes to criticism. Are you a people pleaser? Not just agreeable someone who can't relax until everyone else is happy. Someone who reads the room like it's a survival skill. Because it was. Do you find it almost impossible to ask for help? You'd rather struggle alone than risk being told you're too much, too needy, too weak. Do you feel intense shame after the smallest mistake? You spill coffee and feel like you've committed a crime? You forget something minor and spiral into self-hatred? Do you want to isolate all the time? Being around people is exhausting because you're constantly performing, constantly managing their emotions, constantly making sure you're not too much. Do you struggle to make decisions because you're so disconnected from your wants that you genuinely don't know what you prefer? Do you seek out emotionally unavailable partners? You're drawn to people who can't fully show up because that's what love looked like growing up. Distant, conditional, always just out of reach. Maybe you're thinking, but I had a good childhood. Maybe your parents weren't abusive. Maybe they even loved you. And they did, in the only way they knew how. But love without emotional attunement isn't enough. A child needs more than food and shelter. They need to be seen, to be heard, to be told that their feelings matter. And when that doesn't happen, the child doesn't think, my parents are emotionally unavailable. They think, I'm too much. I'm the problem. So you became better. You became the perfect child, the one who never complained, the one who got good grades, the one who made yourself so easy to love that maybe, just maybe, you'd finally feel loved. But it didn't work, did it? No amount of achievement can fill the void left by emotional neglect. You can have the career, the relationship, the life everyone envies, and still feel like a fraud. Because deep down, you still believe what that 7-year-old learned, that you're only valuable when you're useful, that love is something you earn, not something you deserve, that your needs are a burden, a weight you learn to carry alone. And that belief is killing you. This isn't a personality flaw. This isn't you being too sensitive. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. When you're a child and your emotional needs are consistently unmet, your brain makes a decision. Emotions are dangerous. Expressing needs leads to rejection. The safest way to survive is to become invisible. So it builds walls, develops hypervigilance, creates coping mechanisms that helped you survive childhood, but now suffocate you in adulthood. You learned to read micro-expressions before you could read books. You learned to manage other people's emotions before you understood your own. And now, as an adult, you're still operating from that programming, still scanning for danger, still making yourself small, still waiting for permission to exist. But here's what nobody told you. The danger is gone. The people who couldn't meet your needs then don't control your life now. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It's still protecting you from a threat that no longer exists. Let me explain what actually happened. In Attachment and Loss, John Bowlby showed that children who grow up without consistent emotional attunement develop insecure attachment. They don't learn to trust that others will be there. They don't internalize the belief that they are inherently valuable. Instead, they internalize the opposite. When emotional needs are consistently unmet, the brain starts producing stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenaline at elevated levels. For a developing brain, this is toxic. In The Body Keeps the Score, Dr. Bessel van der Kolk explains how trauma reshapes brain architecture. It keeps the amygdala, the fear center, in constant hyperactivation. You grow up with a brain wired for threat detection, always scanning for danger, always waiting for the other shoe to drop, always convinced that if you let your guard down, something bad will happen. This isn't anxiety. This is your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do, keep you safe in an environment where emotional expression was dangerous. But you're not in that environment anymore, and that's the tragedy. You're still living like you are. Share this if you know someone still trapped in survival mode, even though the danger passed years ago. Subscribe if you believe. Emotional neglect shapes lives. Only people who dismiss invisible trauma will ignore this. Maybe you've achieved everything you thought would make you happy. The degree, the job, the relationship, the life that looks perfect on paper, but you still feel empty. You still feel like you're performing, pretending, playing a role. Because success doesn't heal emotional neglect. Achievement doesn't fill the void left by a childhood where you weren't allowed to just be. And the cruelest part? The very traits that helped you survive, the hyper-independence, the perfectionism, the people-pleasing, are now preventing you from healing. Because healing requires vulnerability, admitting you need help, letting people see you when you're not perfect, not productive, not useful. And that feels impossible. Because the last time you were vulnerable, you were met with absence. The last time you had needs, you were made to feel like a burden. So you buried them. You buried the child who needed comfort, who needed to be told they mattered. You buried them so deep you forgot they were there, but they didn't die. They're still waiting. You didn't have a childhood, you had a performance. You were a child playing the role of an adult because the actual adults couldn't handle being adults. Maybe your parent was depressed, overwhelmed, dealing with their own unhealed trauma. So you became the emotional regulator, the one who managed the mood of the house, the one who made sure everyone else was okay, even though you were just a child who needed someone to make sure you were okay. This is called parentification. It's a form of emotional abuse, even if it wasn't intentional. Because a child should never have to earn their parents' emotional stability, should never have to shrink themselves to make space for an adult's feelings, should never have to become a therapist, a mediator, a caretaker. But you did, and now, as an adult, you're still doing it, still managing everyone else's emotions, still making yourself small, still performing the role of the strong one, but you're exhausted. Because you never got to be the child, never got to be messy, needy, imperfect. You never got to learn that love isn't something you earn, it's something you deserve simply because you exist. And that's the wound. Not that you were hit or screamed at, but that you were never allowed to just be. You were just a child who needed to be seen, to be heard, to be held, and you didn't get that. And I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that. I know this hurts. I know it's painful to realize that the childhood you deserved never happened, that the parents you needed weren't capable of being those parents. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel the loss of something you never had. You lost the chance to be a carefree child, to make mistakes without shame, to have needs without guilt, to be loved unconditionally without having to earn it. And that's a profound loss, one that deserves to be mourned. So if you need to cry, cry. If you need to rage, rage. If you need to sit with the heaviness of this realization, sit with it. Don't rush past it. Don't tell yourself you should be grateful because other people had it worse. Your pain is valid, your grief is real, and you deserve to feel it. Because you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. On the other side of this grief is something you've been searching for your entire life: freedom. Comment, "I am enough," if you're ready to stop apologizing for existing. Hit subscribe if you believe neglected children deserve healing. Only people who think you're too sensitive is helpful advice won't. You can heal. Not because you're broken, you're not, but because you're finally ready to stop living like that 7-year-old at the kitchen table. Ready to stop making yourself small. Ready to stop earning love you should have been given freely. Your brain has neuroplasticity. It can change. It can form new pathways. It can unlearn the belief that you're too much, that your needs are burdens, that love must be earned. You're not stuck with the programming from childhood. You can rewrite it. The first step is reconnecting with your emotions, because emotional neglect disconnected you from your inner world. Start noticing when your chest tightens, when your jaw clenches, when you want to run, and instead of pushing it away, get curious. What is this feeling trying to tell me? What do I need right now? These questions are revolutionary. For someone taught, their feelings don't matter. Track your emotions daily. Get a feelings chart, yes, like the ones for children, because you never learned this. Every day, identify what you're feeling. Not fine, actual emotions. Sad, angry, anxious, lonely, joyful, peaceful. Identify and honor your needs. Do you need rest, connection, solitude, creative expression? And here's the radical part. Honor those needs. If you need rest, rest. Don't wait until you've earned it. In Self-Compassion, Dr. Kristen Neff explains that treating ourselves with kindness isn't selfish, it's necessary. Practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself the way you wish someone had talked to you as a child. When you make a mistake, instead of spiraling into shame, say, "It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes. You're learning. You're human." And the hardest one, let people in. Find one person you trust and practice being honest. "I'm having a hard day. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I could use some support." Notice that the world doesn't end, that they don't reject you, that vulnerability doesn't destroy you. It connects you. In Brené Brown's Daring Greatly, she writes that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. Everything you've been searching for lives on the other side of that scary feeling. You were never too much. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't hold you. Your needs weren't excessive. They were normal. Every child needs emotional attunement. Every child needs to be seen, heard, validated. You didn't get that. But that doesn't mean you didn't deserve it. It means the people who were supposed to provide it couldn't. Maybe because of their own trauma, their own limitations. Maybe they were never taught how. But their inability to meet your needs doesn't mean your needs were wrong. It means they were incapable. And that's not your fault. You were a child who deserved unconditional love, who deserved to be protected, nurtured, celebrated. And you didn't get that, but you can give it to yourself now. You can become the parent you needed. You can give yourself permission to rest, to feel, to need. You matter. Your feelings are valid. You are enough exactly as you are. You don't have to earn love. You are worthy simply because you exist. And slowly, over time, you'll start to believe it. In Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, he writes, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. You have that space now. You have that power. You get to choose what happens next." The child you buried didn't die. They're still there, waiting, in the kitchen, at that table, hoping someone will finally come. And no one's coming. Not your parents, not a partner, not a therapist, not me. The only person who can go back and rescue that child is you. You are the one who has to walk into that room, kneel down, and say, "I see you. I'm sorry no one was there for you. I'm sorry you had to grow up so fast. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. You're safe now. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to need. You're allowed to rest. You never had a childhood, but you still have a future. And this time, you get to write it. Write a story where you're not the supporting character in everyone else's life, where your needs matter, where you're loved not for what you do, but for who you are. You deserve that story, and it starts now. If this resonated, leave a comment below. Tell me which part hit hardest. Subscribe if you believe children deserve emotional safety. Only people who think neglect builds character will skip this. Let's build a community of people done pretending to be fine. You're not alone, and you're gonna be okay.